What's going on, everyone? We hope you had a nice and relaxing weekend because we are set for an action-packed week in the market. Not only did the SPY continue to make brand new all-time highs on Friday, but we are now starting to kick off earnings season. We have 2 Powell speeches scheduled for the week, inflation data, and a handful of big moves already happening. So to say this week is going to be an exciting one would definitely be an understatement, but Tom, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, the S&P 500 did pretty well Friday. It was nice to see it run up to 555. That's the new all-time high, so congratulations to everybody that was trading it to the upside on Friday. I know there was a lot of people that actually woke up and they were there, right? It was the day right after the 4th of July, and I couldn't believe it. It was a fantastic Friday. We saw a lot of great movement, and there was a lot of positivity in the Discord and the chat overall. So congrats to everybody that woke up and came to trade because it was a fun day for it. I know Nvidia was down, but going to the heat map, 52% of stocks were actually in the red on Friday. It was pretty close though, almost 50-50 with 52% to 48% there. But looking at the chart, it was pretty mixed. We had a lot of the big tech stocks like Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Apple really hold the market higher, whereas Nvidia actually fell back down on Friday, which was a bit of a surprise, but I was glad to see Tesla and Amazon up in the green too. So I guess Nvidia was just the one sore site there, but whenever you go to Meta's chart or Apple, it looks fantastic here.
Yeah, they're in rocket mode, especially Meta. Like, that thing is just ripping to the upside right now. And as we've been saying for at least a couple days now, especially on the channel, is that when we look at historical data for the market around this time, we could see that historically speaking, the first half of July tends to be pretty strong. And so far, the market is definitely aligning with its historical statistics. And the good news is that as you can see, that this strength normally lasts for around until the first half of July. So that's a good thing worth noting. But another thing to keep in mind is that as we shift over into the VIX seasonality, we can see that historically speaking, it does start a pretty strong uptrend pretty soon. So as we can see in the chart right here, the line in the red represents the VIX this year, while the gray lines represent what it does on average, historically speaking. And for those of you who don't know, the higher VIX goes, the more volatile and crazy and most of the time bearish the market gets. So not only do we have this seasonality with VIX, but we're also heading into an election year, or we're in an election year, we're heading into an election, and that does tend to bring in even more volatility than average. So, long story short, the market is strong right now, and that's a good thing, but at the same time, we do have a lot of historical data pointing to a lot more craziness on the way.
Yeah, and whenever we go to a chart of the SPY and we just look at it over the past year, since the beginning of 2024 anyways, you can see just how strong it's been. And there has been a couple pullbacks mixed in here and there, but for the most part, it's just been pretty much straight up. Even if there was a pretty big pullback here on the SPY, let's say we pull back for a couple months, maybe back down to 530 or something, we would still be finishing the year on a great note, right? So I just want to say that because I know that, a lot of people right now obviously are looking at the market in a bullish way, and yes, I am too in the short term for sure, but I'm definitely being wary of that next major pullback coming in because we haven't really had one on this road up here pretty much all year besides that slight one in April, right? That was the only one that was very major there on the way up. But it's definitely interesting whenever I start looking at the VIX seasonality in that way. And what's good is that for the end of July, looks like we're pretty good, right? But towards the beginning of August is when that starts to really pick up. So I don't know, Mike, it's going to be crazy over the next couple months to see if this historical data plays out or not. I kind of hope it doesn't, but then again, if it does, the options are going to be awesome, and we'll have even more opportunities in the short term too. So, don't think that if the market falls, that's a bad thing either. The volatility could actually help.
Well, Tom, the old time saying, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So, there's a lot of money to be made in both directions, but it's those who get excessively greedy that really end up taking the biggest hit. So what's more important than anything is you could be bullish or bearish, but you have to be willing to adapt no matter what, because if you don't, be careful. I'll leave it at that. But either way, another thing that I wanted to bring up as we're talking about, I guess you could just say overall sentiment and action in the market right now, is that we have another pretty cool chart to show today that basically shows how Bitcoin and the NASDAQ move together. The red line is Bitcoin and the black line is NASDAQ. You can see, generally speaking, when they're moving up, they both move up together, and when they fall down, they mostly fall down together. We could see that in the short term, there has been a very big divergence. The NASDAQ has still been ripping to the upside, while Bitcoin is definitely slowing down quite a bit. And this is actually really obvious when you go to a long-term chart of Bitcoin. So check this out. As we go to Bitcoin on TradingView, we can see like over the past couple of weeks, not only has Bitcoin not even been close to highs, but it is actively falling off more. And given the chart that we were just looking at and seeing how they generally move alongside each other, Bitcoin and NASDAQ, this shows that we are seeing a little bit of a shift in like sentiment, because what Bitcoin and the NASDAQ ultimately, go to show, especially in the short term, is how much like euphoria there is in the markets. And to see Bitcoin taking this big of a hit, it definitely is somewhat of a worrying sign. So what I think will be very important in the short term is continuing to see if Bitcoin and NASDAQ will move together or if they will actually decouple, because if they do decouple and start moving independently, that will say a lot. And, we'll talk more about that if it happens, but I guess just like going forward, everyone should keep Bitcoin on watch just in case, because a move like this is definitely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it definitely is. A lot of people like to attribute a lot of NVIDIA's movement and a lot of these chip stocks to Bitcoin doing so well, right? Because as Bitcoin goes up, more people are wanting to mine, getting more Bitcoins and etc., right? Those servers are growing. There's lots of stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's the whole reason why NVIDIA goes up, but that's, just part of the overall reason why, right? Like, of course, everything uses AI now, but obviously Bitcoin and mining and stuff is a big part of that chip sector. So I don't know. That is very interesting to see, though, Mike. I would have never thought that Bitcoin and the NASDAQ were that close together over the past couple of years and just in general here. But, seeing that decoupling starting to happen is a bit of a worry. And we've seen it decouple a little bit in the past. And then they both kind of ended up, they ended up kind of converging together again. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens here personally. Hopefully Bitcoin can start to get bought up off the dip. But this double top seems pretty strong right now. And I was looking at the overall pullback. I mean, that's a pretty bad one. 27% from highs. That's quite the pullback there.
Yeah, Bitcoin is a volatile one. So either way, we will keep this on watch. But Tom, I'm happy to say that earnings season is back in action. So as we can see by looking at this week's calendar, we have a handful of interesting stocks that are set to report. I'm going to say Friday is set to be the most exciting, as we have some of the big banks like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup set to report. Normally when these bank stocks report at this time of the year, that a lot of times does signal like the beginning of earnings season. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll have some of the even bigger tech companies report as well.
Yeah, we definitely will. And, on Thursday, we also have Pepsi and Delta Airlines. And I think Delta could be pretty interesting right now as well, with the travel season and everything heating up. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about airlines lately. So I think that'll be a very interesting report as well. Before that, there's not really anything too crazy. But like you said, the bank stocks really do kick off earnings season. And, besides earnings, we also have Powell hitting us with the double whammy this week, it looks like. On Tuesday, he's going to be giving a semi-annual monetary policy report to Congress, and this is specifically before the U.S. Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. So that's who he's giving that policy report to on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, he'll be testifying to the House Financial Services Committee. So back-to-back days there from Powell, Tuesday and Wednesday. Sometimes we get some pretty funny questions, right? I know like some people like Elizabeth Warren. There was even a funny guy last time, Mike, that said some pretty inappropriate stuff that we can't even really mention here, but I'm sure we'll hear about it in Discord quite a bit this week.
These Powell testimonies and speeches have been getting more and more entertaining. So I'm especially looking forward to this week's double whammy, like you said. So Tuesday and Wednesday are the times to watch, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then, Tom, we also can't forget we have some pretty important inflation data set to release as well 1 hour before the market opens on Thursday. That is when the CPI report will be. But besides that, we are basically all set and ready to go into, I guess you could say, some of the exciting setups for the week. So a stock I'm continuing to watch very closely right now is SLV. And I know I've been talking about this one nonstop over the past couple of videos, but it just keeps on running higher and higher and higher, which is awesome. And we actually just had a pretty big money trade with this one as well. But basically, SLV follows silver prices. It has been moving to the upside in a strong way. I'm going to continue to look at this one in a bullish way, especially considering we had a $3.2 million big money trade that we just talked about with this one. Silver prices certainly are not as volatile as, I guess you could say, some hyped up, I guess you could say, chip stock or AI related play. However, it does move in a slower, more consistent way. So I'm going to continue to look at SLV in a bullish way, but understand this is not a setup just for tomorrow. This is more so a setup for the next couple days and weeks.
Yeah, and I know you talked about that one a lot last week, and with that big money play coming in, it's been awesome to see it moving up off of this support and continuing to break out of that channel. So I'll definitely be watching silver and even gold in the short term too. GLD has been getting some pretty good movement as well. But with my first play, I'm actually looking at Peloton, and there was also a recent big money play on this one as well. On July 1st, there was a $540,000 play on the 4-strike calls that expire in September, and I'm really watching Peloton here off of the dip. You know, the July 1st, that was like the exact bottom on this dip, and Peloton's been coming up pretty well. So I'm going to be watching for a recovery this week, back up into like the $3.70 to $4 range. A test of $4, even a break there, would be amazing for this 4-strike big money play. So I'm still eyeing up Peloton off this support, Mike. And I'm not really looking at this stock for the long term or anything like that. It's just more of a short-term play off of support.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Palantir, and this one had an amazing day on Friday as it popped up by over 5%, and it's getting very close to its recent highs, right around this like $27.50 area. Palantir is a stock I really like for the long term, but it's also showing a lot of great short-term momentum as well. When this stock really does have momentum, it moves in a great way, and it's certainly building. So Palantir is definitely on my radar going forward, but it's very important to understand that with a setup like this one, you need that overwhelming bullish momentum. If this stock opens up tomorrow and it is barely moving and it's just like chopping around, it'll be very hard to justify a setup like that. However, if it has a lot of momentum and the price action is just getting stronger and stronger and more explosive, that is where like the asymmetric risk comes in, and that's where this stock, I guess you could say this stock's momentum really shines. So either way, Palantir is on my radar for tomorrow, even the rest of the week. But again, we need to see that strong upside momentum.
Yeah, and a good example of that is that momentum that we saw Friday at open. I mean, that move from open to the high of day was nuts. It pretty much went flat for the rest of the day from there. But man, that initial move, there was so much momentum. If we see that again, that could make for an amazing trade. I'll definitely be watching this one as well. With my next play, I'm looking at Intel in the short term, and this one's been popping up off the $30 support. I know there was a big money play on Intel that we called out back on May 3rd, and this is another one that, you know, it took a lot of time, right? Intel chopped around on support, but it's starting to come up off that support in a great way and retest like the 3240, 3250 resistance. So for this week, I'm going to keep looking for a good continuation out of Intel. I want to see it break this resistance and move higher towards like $33 to $34. So let's go Intel. It's been a long time since it's moved, but it's coming up well now off that $30 support. I know there was a lot of people buying shares down there as well, and they're starting to like this short-term move here.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'll definitely be watching that setup closely as well. But I think it's now about that time for today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Meta to the upside.
Yeah, Meta went insane on Friday. If it breaks out above 542, then keep watching it up.
All right, with the next one, we have Chewy also to the upside.
Chewy was pretty good Friday, too. I know that it wasn't making new highs or anything like that, but it is right at resistance. If it breaks out above 25.25, then watch it back up.
All right. And then with the last one, we have NVIDIA for both directions.
Yeah, NVIDIA actually had some weakness on Friday. I was surprised to see it, but if it ends up breaking down under 124.80, just under 125, then watch it down. If it re-breaks back above 126.25, then watch it back to the upside.
All right, well, we have the upside level for potential move higher. We have the downside level for a potential move lower. That is for NVIDIA. Don't forget about the upside levels with Chewy and Meta. But either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential day trades. Only if they break through the levels Tom listed. We want to see breakouts and then continuations in the directions listed. The stronger and more consistent the price action is, the better the setups become. But those are the momentum plays, so let's jump right into today's $2 million big money trade, and we are looking at none other than ticker symbol JD. So on Friday, the big money put about $2 million into the 24 strike call options that expire on October 18th of 2024. Looking at JD right now, these call options are already in the money, considering the stock is trading for around $26.76. The options have a good amount of time to them, and I really like the short-term risk-reward with JD and other China stocks right now. Basically, as we can see, JD, again, it's just under that $27 mark. It has a recent short-term low right around $25.50. So it's like you can put like a stop loss right around there, and you could have profit targets pretty high up. Like you can get all the way up to like the $30 level or even like $34 area, and even higher depending on how good the price action gets. But either way, there's like an asymmetric risk reward there, and there have been a lot of bullish flows going into Chinese stocks, not only over the course of the year, but even in like shorter time horizons as well. I know a lot of these Chinese stocks are doing a lot with buybacks as well, especially with Alibaba, so that's good to see. And again, they have been a part of a broader term uptrend since the beginning of this year. So either way, I'm pretty excited to see how this one does, and it'll definitely be close on my radar.
Yeah, mine too. You know, these China stocks started to fall off quite a bit here, and I think that this dip will provide a very interesting opportunity. And whether you're looking at JD or Baidu or Baba or whatever you're looking at, they're running down into some pretty big supports, especially JD and Baba to me. Like Baba's bouncing well off 72. We have a big $70 support coming up. Whenever you look at JD, there's a pretty big support around 23, like 23 to 25, honestly. We've seen a lot of bounces right within that range. But nonetheless, I'm going to be watching it up off of this recent dip. I do like how there was some green candles coming in the past few days. There's a lot of buyers trying to maybe buy it up here. So, if we start to see a good re-break back above like 27 or something like that, there could be an entry on this if you didn't already catch the entry from Friday, which I know a lot of people watching the video didn't. So definitely just have JD on the radar. It's a nice looking dip here on the China stocks, and they're running into some big supports. Like Mike said, overall, they're still in a pretty good uptrend. I know that there's been a recent dip, but nonetheless, like you can still tell, like Baba, JD, they're still overall moving to the upside here.
Yes, in the short term. Like, obviously, when you look at these stocks over the past couple of years, they've been selling off quite a bit, which also helps the risk-to-reward skew in this situation. A lot of these stocks have been beaten down in such a bad way over the past couple of years, where a lot of buyers are starting to look at them and say, yes, they are risky than most other stocks, but maybe that is a risk that is able to be justified. So either way, keep a close eye on JD, Baba, and a handful of these other stocks going forward. But Tom, we can't move any further until we give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Musu, in the StockedUp trading floor. So they had a great post on Friday where they made almost $6,000 with some Apple call options, a little bit over 1,400%. So this was definitely a pretty big hit here. So huge shout out to you, Musu. Keep up all the great work. And then, as we can see in the profits channel, SM Bot also went off on Friday with these Meta call options. So SM Bot was screaming Meta all day long on Friday, and it had some moves of, like I said, over 400%, and it even caught some pretty good moves with AMD and Walmart, as well as a couple of those plays had some moves of like 117% and 146%. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. You get full access to SM Bot, and you can see how it definitely crushed it on Friday. You also get access to all of our other bots. You can chat with Tower and myself all day long, access our weekly live events, access the big money plays on the same day the trade is made, but you don't have to wait until they're published in the video. A lot of times that can result in better entry opportunities, just like we saw with SLV last week. And you get access to basically everything you need for short-term trading. So definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. We do have a pretty big sale running right now. Coupon code Big Money saves a ton, and we don't do sales often. So if you want in, now's the time. It'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, we have the market right at all-time highs still. We have the I guess you could say we have some interesting things brewing in the market, especially with that NASDAQ and Bitcoin divergence. We have a lot of seasonality pointing to an even more exciting market over the next couple of weeks. We have Powell coming back twice this week with 2 speeches. Earnings season's back in action, so I'm pretty excited for this week, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting. I know last week was very exciting as well. Even on Friday, I was really surprised, to see a lot of traders waking up and everything from the holiday the day before, and it was a badass day to be a trader, and I think this week will be equally as awesome, especially like whenever we go and we look at the SPY, we look at Apple, we look at Meta, we look at a lot of these stocks. They're making brand new all-time highs, and they're in that type of mode right now where the euphoria is definitely there, right? So take advantage in the short term. Always have backup plans, though. Be ready. Be adaptable for whenever the market does shift a little bit. We just had on the Apple here, like 4 amazing green days in a row. Just be aware there will be red days mixed in. But other than that, I think it's going to be an awesome week. These stocks are popping off, and there's a lot of euphoria in the market right now. So take advantage while we can, and don't fight that trend, right? As we say, Mike, don't fight the money.
Absolutely. And whether you've been crushing it in the short term or whether you've been struggling, either way, keep your head up high and deploy smart, long-term, disciplined, sustainable trading habits. Anyone can get lucky taking some random trade and making a lot of money in the short term, but what will ultimately make the difference over the long term are what your habits are, and this is especially true in trading. Always make sure you have a stop loss. Make sure you're following the money. Make sure you have a plan with your trade before you enter it, and make sure you're just operating in a disciplined way. It's so easy to just, want to take such a super risky trade and cross your fingers and hope it hits. But over the long term, as we all know, that is not a sustainable strategy. So use a disciplined mindset and keep on improving each and every week. But it should be a pretty good week in the market. Again, if you're into short-term trading, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Strike on the deal while it's hot. Coupon code Big Money saves a ton. And besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it this week.